Hello and welcome everybody, it's Karen. Thank you for stopping by. I have been playing with the Easter Time Basics collection from Paper Rose Studio. So these are the 6x6 papers that I thought I would just very quickly show you. They're all springtime patterns and Easter patterns, backgrounds, and then, sort of plaid type matching or coordinating backs on them, all in pretty spring colors. So I do end up using most of these papers, I think, today. I've got 3 cards for you, so I hope you'll stick around for those. Now, the first card, I chose this piece of pattern paper, and I've got the embossed die cuts, and now this little gnome on the front, I thought he coordinated so well with that pattern paper. So that's going to be my first card. But here's a really quick look at the other embossed die cuts, and they're just beautiful with that glazing on them. Lots of sentiments in this collection too. Sorry, you don't really get to see that last piece. Sorry, I edited it too much. But I've got a 5.5 inch square card base, and I've trimmed down this piece of pattern paper. Now, I wanted this gnome to stand out and away from that background a little bit. So I've cut a piece of 7 by 5.5 inch wide paper. I cut this from 110-pound cardstock. And I'm scoring this at 2 inches, 3.5 inches, 5, and then 6 inches. So this is going to make an accordion fold to go at the front of my card. And so you'll see that here. I'm going to start at the widest section and fold that into a mountain fold. And then I really burnished all of these folds. So from there, I just started accordion folding. So the next one goes back the other way, and I'm just burnishing as I go along. So super simple and easy. So this is going to give me kind of a step platform at the front where I can put my gnome. I've got glue on the back of it, and I'm just checking that my card is top folding. And I'm going to just line this up along the bottom edge and the sides and glue that in place. So you can see how that will stand up now. So then I can just glue this pattern piece of paper down, and that will cover the join where I've attached that platform. Now I cut some pieces of, kind of a spring green cardstock, and these were just the height of each of those accordion folds. I've also cut the cattails and grass border die. I had to cut that twice, but I cut it from the same green cardstock. And then I cut the poppy field die. I cut that from white, and then I used some inks. I was trying to match it up with the flowers in the background there. So I can now glue my cattail border down, and it will go right across. I've trimmed it down to be 5.5 inches wide. And the same with the poppy border. So now you can see how there's a little garden in front of the gnome house. And there's kind of room for, other things to show up in this card. So I'm just gluing my gnome down to the front right corner now. And then I've cut, from this piece of pattern paper, I used the small bunnies, I think it's called the small bunnies metal die, and just cut those little bunnies out, add a little pom-pom tails to them, and I'm just gluing those down in place now. So there's a bit of dimension with those pom-poms. And then I have this sentiment from the embossed die cuts, which I'm just figuring out where to put. And it ended up going right up there. So that's my first card. Super easy, but fun. Really fun with that extra dimension. Lots of room to write. It almost folds flat, not quite. There's a bit of bulk there. Now for my second card, I fussy cut out that image from the bottom of that piece of pattern paper, and I have an 11 by 6 inch piece of cardstock. Now I'm going to score this at 2 3/4 inches and 8 1/4 inches. This is going to end up being a gatefold card, but we're going to actually score it again in the middle. I just don't want to do it right now because I wanted to do my ink blending first. So now that I've done the ink blending between those 2 score lines, I can now score this right down the middle at 5.5 inches. And then I flipped it over and scored the first and the last score lines again, because those parts of the card can fold either way. So I'm folding them inwards as you would with a normal gatefold card and just burnishing these for now. And so that's just a simple gatefold. But we have that score line in the middle, so we're going to fold that in half and just give that a quick burnish. So now you can see you're going to get a bit more dimension inside the gatefold just by putting that score line. Now I wanted to make this a border at the front, so I need a flap on the side of this. I had to watch for that hat, so I've got room on the left but not the right, so I took a scrap of cardstock. It's 1 inch wide and I'm scoring it at 1/2 inch and folding it. And now I can attach this to that side there to make a flap. So I'm just gluing that in place and then I'll trim off the excess. So now you can see there's a nice flap there that I can use to attach that. But I have to also score the other side. So I will turn that around to my scoreboard and just score that at 5.5 inches. Now, because I did that, this sort of sticks out, so I just took my little scissors and cut up to the score line, just to get rid of the excess bulk. And then we're going to score that. I flipped it over and I'm scoring it at 2 3/4 inches. So that score line will line up exactly with the middle center line on our card. And I just pinch this one. I don't really burnish it at all. I didn't really want to crease it too much. But now we can put some glue on that left-hand flap, and you want to line this up along that fold line and along the bottom edge. And just be sure that you can fold that left-hand flap down over it, that you haven't gone too far. Now I've cut a strip of 1 inch wide acetate. It was just a scrap that I had. And I'm just eyeballing this. On the inside, I'm going to just cut this to be narrower than the width on the inside of the card. And this piece I will cut to be shorter or narrower than the piece underneath it. It really doesn't matter how big these are. You can go with what you've got. But on each of these, I'm making a 1/4 inch score line along each end, just to make my tabs so I can fold those down. And then you want to give those a good burnish. And I'm putting some red line tape on those tabs. And so here, the tabs are now at the back, and I'm going to take my bone folder, and you want to kind of shape these a bit. So it's like ribbon curling. You just pull your bone folder along to make it curl. So I'm going to do that with both of them. So now this is going to go tucked in behind that flower border. You want it to be low enough that it doesn't show. So I'm just putting it flat across that center line and pressing down where the tape is on either side. So now if I bend them back, you can see all the dimension that will give this. And you could put 3 layers of acetate there if you have more images you want to attach in. Here I've taken the release paper off the widest one and I'm just putting it flat right over top of the first one. So now when you bow out the card, because one's longer, it extends further out. And then we can just glue this remaining flap down and just line it up along the bottom edge and right up to the right hand fold line. So now you can sort of see all that dimension that you have in there for attaching things. I have cut from the Tulip Border 2 die this little bit of tulip border, and because I wanted to fill the flowers, I've flipped them over and I'm just putting glue on the back of the heads of the tulips, and I had these scraps, so I'm just using them up. So I'm going to glue these in place onto that pattern paper. And while the glue is still a little bit wet, it's easiest to do this. I'm sort of angling my scissors underneath that die cut outline and just cutting the flower heads off. So you can see that. And then I'm going to curl this as well, because this is going to wrap around that inside piece of acetate. So I've put some double-sided tape on it, and I'm going to add a bit of glue just to give me a little bit of wiggle room, because I'm going to reach in now and attach this. I'm actually putting it on the smaller of the 2 acetate strips, so right towards the back. I know you can't really see anything there, but that's where that's going, and I was just trying to make sure it was all sort of centered where I wanted it. So hopefully you can see here, it's on the back piece of the acetate, so there's one in front. So those flowers will be a little further back from our gnome. From the birdhouses die set, I have cut this little birdhouse and a bird, and then I used the large bunnies, the bunny trio dies to cut these, and I cut them all from the same pattern paper. These two were actually cut from the paper I'm going to use in my next card. I've put little pom-pom tails on them and a little strip of acetate, and I've got some double-sided red line tape on there. And then I can just go down and attach these to those acetate rings, depending on how far forward or backward I want them to be. Now, if you were going to glue this bunny down, you wouldn't want to cross the midline, but if he's just attaching to the ring, it's okay to straddle that center fold, because it's actually attached to the ring, not the back. So you could add him, he could be further over even if you wanted. So that's the inside part, and then I just added the pattern paper to the sides. And you can see all that dimension, it's really quite fun. Now for the front of my card, I've cut the alabaster white shimmer cardstock to fit the panels, and I'm gluing the one down on the left-hand side. Now, to kind of close this and keep it closed, you could use a belly band, but I've got this die-cut image, and I thought it'd be really fun to use that. So I've got these little magnets. I'll put a link to these down below, or I'll try to remember to do that. But I've got two that I've taken off. They're attached, so this, the attracting sides are meeting up. And I put some red line tape on the other side of both magnets. And so I'm going to now position this. So I haven't put that alabaster cardstock down on the right-hand side yet. I'm just trying to figure out where I want this die-cut image to go. I'm taking one of those magnets off, and I'll remove the release paper on this other one. And so now I can kind of see where it's going to go, and I can attach my magnet to the back of that die-cut image now. So that it's going to help keep this closed. So there's two ways to do this next step. You could put the magnets back together and just remove the release paper, or you can do what I'm doing here, and I'm just marking where that magnet goes, and so then I can take it off, remove the release paper, and put it there. So I'll just put that down where my pencil mark is, and now I can cover up that magnet with the other side of the alabaster cardstock, and this image will now magically clip on to that magnet. So once you've got it where you want it to go, I just flip this open and put glue on this side. And so now, if I don't wiggle that, I can put that back on and just press it down. And so now that die-cut image is glued on the left and closes with the magnet on the right. So you can see how well it keeps that closed. But I didn't like the magnet on the inside, so I've put some red line tape on that, and I'll remove that release paper. And I've got another sentiment from that embossed die cuts, and I'm just going to add some glue to this and then cover up my magnet there. And then I've got, these are two of the embossed bunnies from that same embossed die cuts collection, and I'm just adding those to the sides. So that's the final card. Now those flaps on the left and right will bend either way, depending on how you want the card to stand up. So that was why I scored them on both sides. But it folds together really well, and it holds it together. So there you go. There's another idea for you. You could add a whole lot more into that. I looked at that and I thought, oh, I could have added much more in the background. Okay, so here's the third card, and I'm using this piece of pattern paper. I've fussy cut out the car. I took this from this is the piece of paper where I cut the bunnies from for the last card. So I've chosen this plaid to go with it, and I've got a piece of 8.5 by 5 inch tall cardstock, and I'm going to score this at 1 inch, 2 inches, 6.5 inches, and 7.5. So this is going to be a bridge style card. So on that inner fold line, I'm going to fold it down towards the center in a mountain fold and burnish it. And then the outer part will go back and away in an accordion fold. And that's one side of the bridge, and you do exactly the same on the other side, and then you'll get this card that stands up beautifully, and you can decorate how you want. So I'm putting this pattern paper on. I've trimmed down little panels to fit on those two front sides and one for the middle. Now I've got this flower, which will be the bridge for my bridge card, but you can see I was short a little bit there, and so I decided to cut that flower piece off the car. So I'm just going to cut that straight up, and I trimmed the other side as well to match. So now it should, I'm just checking to make sure that that reaches across, and it did, it was fine. So then I started this by gluing this piece down on the right. And then I can put a little bit of glue on that first 1 inch on the left-hand side. And you want to fold down that first fold, so it's folded down to the right, but then open out the fold on the right-hand side so it's flat. And that's so that when you go to put this in the mailbox or into an envelope, it goes flat. So fold it down in the same direction. So the left is folded down and the right is opened out to the right. And then you just glue that in place. Now I did add some scrap cardstock to the back of this image just to, give it a bit more dimension. And I'm just gluing that into the back. And then here I've got another sentiment from the embossed die cuts, just adding a bit of glue to the right hand side of that, and this will overhang that fold line. Now I wasn't too happy with that bottom flower border. It was a bit weak because it was so narrow, so I've cut a thin strip of cardstock that fits between those folds on either side. And it was just a tiny little strip, but it does reinforce this really quite well. So I'm just attaching that now with glue. And there you can see it. And on the back, that's what it looks like. So all I did was add a few pearls in, and that was my third card. So I hope I've given you guys a little bit of inspiration today, a few ideas on how to use that collection. It's so cute. Thanks for stopping by, everybody. I hope you're all having a great day, and I will hopefully talk to you again the next time. Bye.